Hey, welcome back. The other day we announced that Tamara Leach, the Joan of Arc of the truckers, is joining Rebel News. And that was a bit of work to accomplish because we had to approve her job description with her probation officer. I know that sounds nuts, but remember, she's under house arrest. So we need to let the government know every time she has to go and do a story, come to a meeting, travel. And it's a bit of a hassle. But on the other hand, I look at it as a way that she can be productive and do things. And of course, she worked with Rebel News before she was sentenced by the court. So this is a continuation of that. So Tamara Leach was very exciting, but you may have seen, and keen-eyed viewers who love their Rebel videos would have seen that we have recently brought on board another journalist too, who has done, I don't know, 3 or 4 stories already. And I thought, well, good heavens, let's invite her on the show to do a proper introduction. Joining us now via Zoom is our latest talent, Scarlett Grace. Scarlett, great to see you. And thanks for your work over the last couple of weeks. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm having a blast. Doesn't feel like work at all.
You know what? I feel the same way because these are things that I want to talk about. These are places I want to go. So going with the Rebel brand, a few things happen. First of all, a lot of people know Rebel. So they know, okay, this is going to be populist. This is going to be on the side of the little guy. And in the case of the Palestinian protests, people know we're on the side of Canadians and we're not on the side of the Palestinian Hamas. We're not on the side of people shrieking about jihad. So when you wear that Rebel hat or that Rebel shirt to go out there, our reputation precedes you. You yourself have a strong reputation. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, I guess my life changed when I went to the Freedom Convoy in 2022. And I went kind of on a whim. I first saw the whisperings of it on Facebook and I was like, yes, somebody's doing something about this, full support. And then last minute, I decided to go to Ottawa. I thought it was just going to be the weekend and I ended up staying 3.5 weeks and it changed my life in every way. I met all of the new people that I know now through that. I wasn't afraid to hold my opinion back anymore. I was in the art scene before, so, very left dominated, but the Freedom Convoy freed me. So I just kept speaking up and speaking my mind, and it's eventually led me here, I guess.
It was a crucible for so many people to wake up, and it changed things. I mean, Erin O'Toole was deposed as leader of the Conservatives, Jason Kenney in Alberta. So it had huge seismic effects in politics, in journalism, and I think in the hearts and minds of millions of Canadians. So your story is interesting, and it's not unique. A lot of people, that was their awakening. I have seen you on a number of occasions at some of these I'm not going to say street battles, but there have been street protests in Toronto, pro-Israel ones, and I'm also going to say pro-Hamas. And people say, oh, why are you saying pro-Hamas? They're really pro-Palestinian. No. At these protests I've been to, they are pro-Hamas. They even once had its reenactment of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar.
Yeah,
a lot of them dress like terrorists. I've seen you there as an activist. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, October 7th happened, and at that point, I wasn't fully informed of the entirety of the Palestine-Israel conflict. I knew a little bit. I talked about it with my mom in the past, but I didn't know everything. But my initial reaction was I was hurting for Israel after the horrendous footage we saw. Oh my God. And then I don't even think it was 2 days later, I was in Ottawa for a freedom-related event, and I saw my first pro-Palestine protest. I had to look up what the flag was. I didn't know anything. And then I saw that these people were supporting what had happened on October 7th, and my mind was blown. I'm like, after what I just saw, there are people in our streets in the Capitol supporting this? So I took a step back and I was like, I need to educate myself. I took like a month or two just reading, watching documentaries, talking to people, and eventually came back to my initial instinct to stand with Israel, even more so now that I've learned more. And the fact that more people aren't speaking up for the Jewish community here, even, you don't even have to be standing up for Israel, but the Jewish people here blows my mind. Like, we learned about this in school. We learned about what happened leading up to World War II. It's history repeating. And because people are not speaking up like I am, I feel like I have to be even louder.
Wow. I mean, I share your view. I'm not so concerned about Israel. I think Israel can take care of itself. It's a tough little country. I'm worried about Canada. I'm worried about threats of violence here. I'm worried about, people shrieking, people walking through residential areas, shrieking at anyone who looks Jewish. Like I can't believe what's happening here. Forget about over there. I'm worried about Canada. Well, there's one more story. In fact, let me throw to the next story, because in the last couple of weeks, you've done a few things. You've covered the weekly protest at this intersection of Bathurst and Shepherd. Let me just throw to a clip of that. And then I want to show another clip where you went to Markham, Ontario, which is part of the Greater Toronto Area, to talk about an MP who crossed the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals. So first, here's one of your first reports at that weekly protest where Palestinian and Jewish Canadians face off. Here, take a look.
Are you seeing a lot of parallels with what's happening in Australia and here in Canada as well? Absolutely. I mean, it can happen right now, for all we know. It's devastating.
There's a great phrase, I don't know who came up with it, but first they come for the Saturday people, then they come for the Sunday people, and...
Exactly. Is there a reason that we're in the Jewish neighborhood, the largest Jewish neighborhood in Canada today after the first night of Hanukkah? Nobody has an answer why we're in a Jewish neighborhood on the first night of Hanukkah, no?
Shame on the government of Australia, the government of Canada, because they refuse to say that it was a terrorist attack against the Jewish community. They try to manage the public opinion, avoiding saying that was anti-Semitic terrorist attack. And we know that the Muslim community is the one attacking the Jewish community. We, the citizens, the people, we know who is our enemies. The government are refusing to protect the Jews, the Christian. The government are against God.
Scarlett, now you were saying that this was actually a special event. There was a menorah lighting for the holiday of Hanukkah, but it looked like the Hamas side was there still blasting away. Tell me about it. And they sort of swarmed you, but you kept your calm, you kept your you're well composed. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like I explained in the report, the pro-Israel rallies that were at the intersection of Bathurst and Shepherd, they actually concluded in October once all of the living hostages had returned. But the pro-Hamas side continued to show up every Sunday in the same neighborhood. And because they didn't have a specific crowd to target, they started going through residential areas, carrying on doing their thing. So they are there every Sunday anyways, but we have come back this past Sunday for the first night of Hanukkah, for the menorah lighting. And yeah, I interviewed people in the Jewish community. And then towards the end, we were like, maybe we can get an opinion from the other side. Let's see how it goes. Normally, the police do not let anybody from the Israel side of the street cross the street to the pro-Palestine protesters. But I think because I was doing journalism, I had the guise of being with the press. They let me that time. And the police just watched as they swarmed me, tried to have a conversation, ask a few of them why they thought it was appropriate to be there on the first night of Hanukkah. No justifiable argument, of course, just shrieking, yelling around me. Yeah. But I've done that before. I'm used to it.
Yeah, protesting against a Jewish holiday sort of shows it's not about Israel or this land or that land. They just don't like Jews, which I think they'll admit if they're candid. You had a tough job. Markham is an interesting place, and their MP just switched sides. I understand from reports that he had met with the Chinese embassy just a few days earlier. And I haven't seen an answer to that. I don't know if he's confirmed or denied that, but an MP, a Chinese-Canadian MP, in a riding that is hotly contested by which the Chinese influence, I'm not talking about Chinese-Canadian influence, I'm talking about the People's Republic of China is messing around. This is one of the 11 districts that was compromised. And suddenly a Chinese-Canadian MP crosses the floor. looks pretty fishy. You went there, and ordinary people on the street, a lot of them were not comfy with it. Here's a clip of your streeters in Markham.
Conservative to liberal crossing the floor.
Yeah, it's great.
You think it's a good thing?
Oh, yeah.
The red liberal government sees itself as a player. It is picking winners and losers through that age-old enemy of human progress, central planning and interventionism.
He is, to me, he's a two-head snake.
Did you support him as a conservative?
Yes,
Yes. So do you feel like you're being represented by this switch?
I don't think so.
No.
It looked tough to get people. I mean, it's hard to get people to stop and talk, especially when it's cold out. But you spoke to one Chinese Canadian who said she was not pleased at all by this. Do you think this is just going to blow over? Because there was another MP from Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, who crossed the floor a few weeks ago too. I guess there's really nothing you can do about it, but are the grassroots in Markham, do they seem angry?
Yeah, they do. There was a protest last week, or I believe on Monday, in front of his office that we covered. And then there's going to be another one tomorrow at, I believe, 2 p.m. They're not happy, and they have a reason to be upset. They voted for a conservative candidate, not a liberal one. Unfortunately, as it seems with most liberal scandals, I think the liberals are just going to try and ignore it until it blows over. But I don't think that protesters are going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, Scarlett, welcome aboard. And I know you're going to learn our tricks of the trade from our whole team, whether it's our chief reporter, Sheila Gunn-Reid, our managing editor, Tamara Ugolini, David the Menzoid Menzies. There's a whole bunch of people here who have been doing that rebel style of journalism for years, and we're at your disposal. We look forward to your work. Now, you're going to take a break over Christmas, as all of us will, but you're going to start with, I think you're going to be doing something in the field tomorrow. But I'm really looking forward to starting the new year with a bang with you. And thank you so much for joining our team. I think you've got the number one element of being a rebel. And I told you this when we interviewed you for the position. The number one thing a rebel news journalism has to have is courage.
Yeah.
Courage to say something that someone might not want to hear. The courage to speak truth to power. You showed that courage when you were at Bathurst and Shepherd, were surrounded by screaming pro-Hamas protesters, and you didn't blink. So I think you've got the courage in spades, and the rest will come in time. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Right on. Great to see you. That's Scarlett Grace, the latest rebel.